Kwai constituency in the Ashanti region, Joseph Osei-Owusu, who also doubles as the first Deputy Speaker of the 8th Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. I want to thank you very much indeed, Honorable, for accepting to speak with us.
Radio 99.5.
We are in 2022, and it appears that the minority side again is opposing the 2022 budget. Is it your thinking that it is as of right, it was expected that they will oppose it because they opposed the 2021 one?
Well, not because they opposed the 2021 one, but because the rate setting matters, which they consider that these matters have to be resolved one way or the other. Otherwise, they won't support it. The most of it was the e-levy, and started with, no, we will not accept the e-levy. Now, after a long discussion, which the economic members of their side also affirmed the situation in which we are as a country, the challenges we need to resolve quickly. The minority leader changed his position, and now he says he's come to 1%. I'm aware that some discussions are still going on. Hopefully we can achieve some consensus before tomorrow's sitting.
So from the 17th, since the budget was read by the finance minister, till the period when debates were going on, some have said that these concerns were coming up, but it would appear that action was not taken about these concerns that were raised particularly by the minority side. What are your thoughts on those who say that some kind of action could have been taken ahead of the finance minister coming before the House on 26th to ask for time?
I think mostly the disagreement has to do with, are the changes necessary at the policy time, or is it at the time you're doing the basic consideration of the estimates? The policy part is really about accepting the principles or not. So I'm aware that right from the beginning, the concerns that have been raised, there have been assurance that, well, we wish to discuss with you further on these matters. But then the minority thought that, well, since you have stated the specifics in the budget, we want the specifics dealt with even at this stage. So the time at which to deal with it also became part of the challenge. So it's not that a year was not giving, but there was disagreement as to when to deal with the problem.
So it was the position of the finance minister that let's approve the budget as parliament, but when it gets to the appropriation time, we can do those...
Even before the appropriation time.
Okay.
All the matters that you consider that to be looked at will be negotiated. The rate, I think there were 5 issues they raised. We could look at them. We think that the general principles must be adopted before we get to the details. But they said no. This budget contains a lot of the details, so they fear that once we voted on the principles, the details would appear to have been approved as well, so it would be difficult to get us to go back to look at. It also undermines some kind of distrust among the political sides, which has resulted in this, should I say, intransigence on either side.
So some have said that Parliament this time round has been extremely dramatic. I don't know if you consider the happenings from 17th to where we are now as dramatic as people are saying it, or how would you say, or what would you describe the happenings of Parliament from then till now?
On the 17th, when the minister presented the budget, nothing unusual happened. Well, we had a long meeting with Mr. Speaker before we started proceedings.
So some have said that the budget started having problems even before it was presented because of that long meeting that you had.
Would I say the budget was having the arms of government usually write to request that we want so much, you justify them. You send it to the president will then forward it to the finance minister for this comment. I think at the time it was being presented, not all the arms of government had presented their budget. So we had a discussion indicating the kind of resources that Parliament, the minister should expect that Parliament would request, and therefore to consider that in his allocations, right? And so I won't say problems, just that whatever it is, these are the entire resource basket. Can you give me this much? Oh no, I think that we can't afford that. This arm alone will get that much. Can we do this? Okay, what is it that you want to do? Can we rearrange that this one is deferred over this period? Those kinds of things, yeah. So finally, we agreed that we'll present the budget, but we'll bring our own request.
I'm told that Mr. Speaker was asking for as much as 1.7 billion Ghana cedis to be allocated to Parliament alone.
I don't know who told you that, but the Speaker's request is contained in the letter addressed to the President. You get the details there, but whoever told you that may have misinformed you.
So what was the request that he was asking for?
As I'm saying, it's contained in Parliament's budget. I don't have all the details, but the specifics are contained in the Parliament's budget.
Okay, so let's come to talk about the happenings on the 26th, which is when Parliament had convened. The finance minister, from what Mr. Speaker said on the floor, had come to engage him and leadership. And on the floor, the majority leader requested that even before any debate, he wanted the finance minister to address Parliament. Mr. Speaker rejected it, and the minority leader went ahead to address. The majority leader subsequently addressed, and then subsequently the finance minister presented his statement. There was a vote rejecting it, and then the same 137 members decided to reject the budget. Your brief thoughts on the happenings of the 26th specific?
Well, I think that I should say that was the beginning of the breakdown of the dialogue that had started. I truly wish we didn't get there. I truly wish that there had been space for the finance minister to tell exactly what is it that he wanted to say before the vote on the budget was taken. However be it, if I recall correctly, usually at the conclusion of the debate, after the leaders have spoken, we usually give the opportunity to the finance minister to conclude. But because of the unfortunate incidents leading to the majority leaving the chamber, the finance minister could not conclude. And so even the details of what he wanted to say, which he would have met with the leadership and deferred the decision about, he couldn't tell, you know. And then the minority purported to have taken a decision, which is subsequently found not to be in accord with the Constitution. But I think, like you said, those dramas, it only reflects the intransigence which have not shown that we can take anywhere. If it were a currency, it won't buy food. The intransigence exhibited by both sides. If it were a currency, it will not buy you food. So I'm glad that I'm seeing a kind of reversal like that. Now, the people who are responsible, or the representatives of the country, have realized that this is a country where we talk all the time. In my experience in Parliament, the 13 years I've been here, there's never once that we have not talked about issues before we came to sit in the chamber or even after. So I think that was a departure, and I'm glad to see that we are returning to the norm, which is talking, making concessions, and agreeing on what to do or not to do.
Several events took place, several discussions went on after the 26th until Parliament convened again on the 30th of November. At this time, Mr. Speaker had travelled out of the jurisdiction. We are told that it was an unavoidable trip that he had to take. And you assumed the role of Speaker by virtue of the fact that you are first Deputy Speaker of Parliament and Member of Parliament for Bekwai. There was the motion to have the decision of the 26th quashed, which was subsequently quashed. And the challenge about numbers in the chamber at the time that that decision was taken. Some have said that you didn't have to identify yourself as being present in Parliament because you were presiding, because the Constitution says that you do not retain your original vote when you are presiding. Your quick thoughts about this position and justification in the law for the decision that you took?
Well, first thing, I think we should not confuse the use of the word Speaker or the Speaker to refer to every presiding officer. I think that has become a source of confusion. There's only one Speaker, and the Constitution describes him in Article 95, the Speaker. There are two Deputy Speakers. The two Deputy Speakers are described in Article 96, and the Constitution says they should be chosen from among members of Parliament. So unless I'm a member of Parliament, I do not qualify to be chosen as a Deputy Speaker.
Whereas the Speaker could be qualified. If he's not a member of Parliament, he could still be qualified to be chosen.
If you're a Speaker, you can't be a member of Parliament. Mm-hmm. If you are elected member of Parliament and you become a Speaker, you resign immediately. Mm-hmm. Right Honorable Duajaho did that. He was an elected member, but when he was also nominated as the Speaker, he immediately tendered his resignation.
And this was 2013?
2013, no. Yes, 2013, yes. He immediately tendered in his resignation. So, the difference between the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker is that the Speaker is not a member of Parliament. The Deputy Speakers are members of Parliament. And we only lose our vote at the time you're presiding. So I prefer we use presiding officer in this circumstance so that we don't confuse it. So I do not assume the role of the Speaker, no. I presided over the meeting as the first Deputy Speaker. As the Constitution gives me that mandate. I think that's where people confuse, because they think that I became Mr. Speaker and therefore I ceased to be a member of Parliament. No, I am first Deputy Speaker and I was the person presiding at the time. What is the issue here? The argument is that because I was presiding, I ought not to have been counted as a member present. I don't know how else my constituents will be represented in the chamber. I preside, so I do not vote, but I am a member of Parliament, and the fact that I lose my vote does not mean that I lose my membership or I lose my seat. As I've explained, the moment I become a non-member of Parliament, I don't qualify to be a Deputy Speaker. The moment I lose my seat as a member of Parliament, I do not qualify to be, because the Constitution is clear that the Deputy Speakers will be elected from among the members of Parliament. And we are expected to belong to political parties. So the Constitution says that the two shall not be chosen from the same political parties. So it is expected that the members of Parliament will be chosen from the political parties that are represented in Parliament, except that the first and second should not come from the same party. So being our practice.
So in the 7th Parliament, you were still the first deputy, and the current Speaker was the second deputy.
Okay. He was a member of Parliament for Nadoli Kaleo. I was a member of Parliament for Bekwai. We represented parties on the ticket of our respective political parties. Right?
Okay, so when the Constitution says that you will lose your vote, what does it really mean? Is it that when you were taking, for example, the voice vote on the 30th, you will not be heard shouting and saying yes or no.
Yes.
Or that if we're going to do normal voting, you wouldn't be able to cast a vote. Can you just try and explain to us what that really is?
Okay.
When they say you lose your vote.
First, let me explain that. The presiding officers do not take decisions, whether it is Mr. Speaker or the deputy speakers or a member who is elected to preside. There's a provision in our standing orders that if for some reason neither the speaker nor the deputy speakers are available, members of parliament shall nominate and vote on one from among them to preside. So that person then becomes a presiding officer. Now, at any time during which any of these three sets of people are presiding, you do not participate. You do not make the decision. The decision is made by the House. You only moderate, you regulate the proceedings, guided by the standing orders. So you make sure that each side is fairly given opportunity to talk. If there's an objection, you apply the rules, and then you supervise or you put the question for the decision to be made by the House. Now, at the time you're presiding, if you're a speaker, you don't have a vote at all. The speaker has no vote at all on any matter. So he does not participate in the decision making of the House at all. If you're a deputy speaker, you are entitled to vote when you're not the one presiding. So there are several times that, for example, when I was talking about the 2021 budget, I was not presiding. So, in fact, I was presiding, but when it got to putting the question, the speaker came and relieved me. So he took the seat, and I went to join the pool, and I voted. The Honorable Second Deputy Speaker had traveled. He rushed to come in, but unfortunately, he came just at the tail end of the vote, so he couldn't get the opportunity to vote, but he was also entitled to vote, right? But if, for example, the Speaker had not come to relieve me, and I put the question, then I will not be entitled to vote. There are three types of voting. The voice vote. All in favor say aye. All against say no. Either of them, once I'm presiding, I can't say aye or no. That is a vote. Then there's standing up to be counted in your place. That is head count. Okay. If, for example, after the ayes and nays, somebody objects that, no, Mr. Speaker will declare that the ayes have it or the noes have it. If he declares either way, and a member objects, but he disagrees with Mr. Speaker's declaration of aye and no, then the person objecting may request that we do a head count, or we go into what we call
is it division?
Division.
Okay.
Because we don't have a division room, we usually use the secret ballot. But when it comes to the secret ballot, technically, it's actually when certain specific assignment decisions that the Constitution specifies that it should be by secret ballot. But if you stand in your place to be counted, that is also voting. Or you go into a secret ballot, that is also voting. Either of them, if the deputy speaker is not the one presiding, is entitled to take part.
Okay, so I've read somewhere about the system that prevails in the United Kingdom, where they do have the Right Honourable Speaker. They do have the two deputies. When the two deputies are sitting, they don't refer to them as Speaker. No. They refer to them as Right Honourable First Deputy Speaker or Right Honourable Second Deputy Speaker.
That's right.
Have we got into the time when, probably to avoid this confusion in the future, we might have to amend? I know Parliament is coming up with new standing orders. Should we specify this in the standing orders so that we don't have this coming up again? So we are clear that there is Mr. Speaker and there is Mr. First Deputy Speaker and Second Deputy Speaker.
I don't have a problem with either of them. The rules are defined. The powers of the Speaker are clearly spelled out. The powers of the deputies are clearly spelled out, right? neither the Speaker nor his deputies or even a third person presiding have any power other than what is contained in the Constitution or the standing orders. Once you preside, you exercise the same powers that are contained in the Constitution or the standing orders. Right. So whether we call you Deputy Speaker or Speaker, probably for ease of reference that the Parliament of Ghana adopted the Speaker so that probably to be easy. I don't know. At the time I joined the 5th Parliament, that has been the practice. The Deputy Speakers preside, we call them Mr. Speaker. And it is not being, even when we had a female speaker, we were still finding difficulty.
Madam Speaker or Mr. Speaker, I remember that confusion.
That's right. But either of them, it doesn't change the law and the rules which govern the House. So that for me should not be an issue, however you say it. But, you know, politicians, we are funny. I'm not sure that there's anybody in Parliament who doesn't know the difference. There's none who doesn't know the difference. But we make convenient arguments.
You think those are politically motivated, just for pure politics?
Yes, yes. Nobody can say that I have the first Deputy Speaker is Mr. Speaker. When the first Deputy Speaker is elected as a member of Parliament, and members then nominate and vote on him in the House. When Mr. Speaker is not a member of Parliament, you know, and the Constitution clearly states out how each of them what powers. Indeed, for the Deputy Speakers, the only role assigned to us by the Constitution is to assist the Speaker to manage the House, preside when the Speaker is not there. We have no administrative powers. If Mr. Speaker sent me to do some administrative work, I don't have my personal views on the matter.
Like
I am his messenger. Go and represent me in this. Then I go as his representative.
Like recently you were at the University of Ghana representing the Speaker for the law school conference on legal education in Ghana and Africa. Okay.
Somebody said I was acting speaker. I immediately whispered that, please, don't generate confusion.
It was the MC.
Yeah.
He was asking you whether you were acting speaker or not.
Right.
Yes.
I'm not acting speaker. I'm first deputy speaker, representing the speaker. And the speech I read was Mr. Speaker's speech. If I'm invited in my own capacity as first deputy speaker, I'll prepare my own speech. But anytime he sends me on an assignment which is not presiding in the chamber, then I go and do his work.
So if you were invited in your own capacity as first deputy speaker, would you be required to inform the speaker that you have been invited for X function, and so you are letting him know before you go and perform the function?
Well, yes, because when he presides, he expects that I should be available to relieve him. So if it's going to take me out of Parliament, I will not leave without informing him that I've been invited to do A, B, C, D, or E. But if it is, for example, a weekend, I'm invited to a program in a weekend, then I don't need to inform him. Once Parliament adjourns for the week until the Tuesday, the period in between, it's mine, unless he wants me to do something for him or on his behalf. Right. But when it is official parliamentary work, then I certainly will clear with him.
Okay, so let's come to events of 30th November in Parliament. When Parliament convened, we were told that there were a lot of backroom discussions before Parliament convened. I've forgotten the exact time that Parliament came to sit, but there were a lot of discussions going on. So what were some of these discussions going on ahead of the 30th of November sitting?
It was all about what to do with the purported rejection, how to deal with it. We wanted to get out of it without denigrating the chair, Mr. Speaker, and the institution of Parliament. So, what approach to use? There were different suggestions, different the sides have different suggestions.
And you were doing this discussion together with members of the minority in terms of leadership, not just the majority.
Of the minority.
Okay.
Yes. You know, so there were discussions of this approach or that approach. Why don't you represent? No, or add this to it and represent. No, the thing is said to have been rejected. So there's nothing to add. It doesn't exist. You know. So we went through all this. We did not agree on the procedure. We did not agree. We were supposed to start at 8. We started at about 8:45. We went up to 12. Broke the meeting up so each side would go and brief its caucus. So we went where the caucus, came back 12, a bit late, but we sat up to almost 2:30. And we said, okay, where we are, we have to go and argue it on the floor. So we agreed that sitting will resume at 3:30. Right? So at that point, when we resumed in the chamber, the majority leader informed me that he intends to use this approach to attack the matter. I sought counsel with the clerks at table. They are our procedural advisors, and they agreed that it can be done. So we went and approached it.
So do you think that on this 26th, I'll come back to 30, but do you think on the 26th, when the Speaker, Right Honorable Alban Bagwin, made the clerks to count, and they had 137 members of Parliament present, you think there was a responsibility placed on the Clerk of Parliament, or as you describe them, they are your procedural advisors, that they had the responsibility to advise Mr. Speaker that you cannot proceed by putting a question because you don't have what it takes, the numbers don't add up for you to be able to do that? Could the clerks of Parliament have done something like that?
I'm sure they could. Indeed, they do that. They advise us all the time. They advise. I can't say whether they did advise him or they did not. But, you know, these matters have been litigated in the chamber a couple of times previously. So probably nobody expected that Mr. Speaker would put the question. Because, as has been pointed out, while he was majority leader, he had raised these issues, and Hansard has said, Right Honorable Duajaho had also dealt with this question extensively, explaining the difference between the two. So we thought that it was, I'm sure, every member thought that was tried knowledge. You don't have the number to take a decision, so you will adjourn. That probably, sometimes we forget that growing old sometimes, things that ordinarily should be regular could elude us.
Okay.
And that's why we're so keen to ensure that the chair, the Speaker, was not denigrated, because any of us could have overlooked something which otherwise looked obvious.
So on the 30th, Parliament convened. The minority obviously boycotted sitting, and so it was only the majority that were present, and the number was 137, including you 138, and you felt that that met the provisions of Article 104, I believe, and so you could go ahead to take a decision. Tell us why you still stand by the fact that even though you were presiding, you were still a member of Parliament, and that decisions could be made once you were present as well as a member of Parliament.
I think I've just spoken to that. When I preside, I lose my vote, but I don't lose my membership. I will remain a member of Parliament until the people of Bekwai vote me out, or I opt not to contest again. Right? But when I preside, then I make sure that things are fair and impartial. But I do not lose my membership. I am a member of Parliament. So if you're counting the members of Parliament in the chamber, you can't leave me out. Our votes and proceedings are always there. You see, the days that I sit alone at the end of the votes and proceedings, my name is there as the person who authorized or who confirmed. Is like ordinary I should sign. But my name is also there, published as a member present.
In the Hansard?
The votes and proceedings.
Votes and proceedings, okay.
That's like the minutes. Every time that I have sat alone, or for about 2 weeks, myself and Mr. Speaker were out of the country. The second deputy speaker was sitting alone. But any time members present, his name was there, and then he's also
the
presiding officer. His name will come under the minutes. You know, so it is strange that suddenly the argument is that if you're presiding, then you lose your membership.
So,
well, let me emphasize again. If I lose my membership, then I'll lose the right to preside, because then I have no power, or I have no right to be elected as a first deputy speaker.
Okay, so
let me also say again, I think this part is important. The confusion. When a deputy speaker is presiding, he is doing so on behalf of the speaker. No. When a deputy speaker is presiding, he is doing so in his own right as a deputy speaker, mandated by the Constitution to preside.
Because the speaker is absent.
Oh, sometimes it's not just is absent. He invites you to take over. It's a tedious work. That is why you're provided with assistance. So you do your point. 2 hours, invite the deputy speaker to continue. Sometimes we go 6 hours, the deputy speaker will do another 3 hours, and invite the second deputy to come and continue. Okay, there are days that I recall in 2018, yes, December, we're doing the budget. I presided, Mr. Speaker started, I took over from him. I presided up to about 5 p.m. Then the second deputy speaker, who is the current speaker, took over from me. So I had gone home. I was there when I was called that I need to come back, because sitting had protracted. I was actually in
so you had left Parliament and gone home, and you had to come back. Okay.
If anybody had observed, I came home in a different outfit, because I changed into something else. I was in a different group when I was called, but they said it is urgent. So I couldn't go back home to change. I came back in my rather casual dress to come and take over and continue to the end.
So, let's say that, and I'll continue with the conversation, but let's say that you are present in the chamber. Can the second deputy speaker preside while you are present?
Yes.
It doesn't break any rules?
Anything.
Okay.
No, a number of times the speaker had invited the second deputy speaker to take over whilst I was there.
Because you were there. Okay.
Both Professor Michael Kwe and Right Honorable Babin, they have done that.
Okay. All right. So, continuing with the events of 30th November, the majority leader obviously moved the motion. It was seconded by the second deputy majority, the deputy majority leader, Alexander Afenyo-Markin, and then you caused there to be counting. That is where you indicated that you are also present, and so you will be counted. The decision was taken. The budget, the first one was to quash the rejection that was done on 26th.
Declare that annulled.
Annulled, exactly. And then you came back and put the question. In fact, you actually allowed the finance minister to make a statement.
Yeah.
And then after that, yeah.
I had earlier said that it is our practice that after the leaders had concluded their debate, the finance minister makes his concluding remarks if he so wishes. So I invited him if he so wished. Indeed, but for the walking out of the majority on that day, I'm sure Mr. Speaker would have given him that opportunity to conclude. Because what he did was to make an application for the question to be deferred, so he consults further. When that failed, the question, in fact, the first question that was to be put was on whether to accept his application or not. It was put, and the Speaker declared the noes have it. Then the deputy majority leader objected that we should do
division.
The division. It was whilst we were preparing for division that...
So in other words, even if the finance minister did not come to make a prayer, by your rules and conventions, he was still going to be allowed to speak on the floor, because the debates were ending. They have been summed up. He was going to be allowed to speak anyway.
Yes.
Okay. So the decision was made, and there were a lot of displeasure okay, not then. That decision was made in the absence of the minority. It was the subsequent sitting, I think the following day sitting, that brought about the confusion when the minority side came back with another motion. Tell us, what was that whole thing about? How do you view that whole application that was brought before you as Deputy Speaker sitting and presiding?
You know, under our rules, you can bring an application that a matter of public agency, of public importance has come to your attention, and that you want a motion for the matter to be discussed and decided upon. It is the same rule that the majority leader used. But as I said earlier, following from the discussion we had had, the majority leader had actually indicated to me, it is part of the rule, that the Speaker must be informed of that. So he told me he had actually written in his pen, and I considered that to be his notes, so I didn't take it. So, and after my consultation, I agreed that that can be taken. But it's the same rule under which the minority leader applied, except that I had no prior knowledge of that. It is a requirement that you must inform me, the Speaker, before you make that application. No such thing had happened. That's why, if you recall that, I had been waiting in the lobby for 1.5 hours. Mm-hmm. Nobody appeared before me to make any such application. But when they insisted, I said, okay, let me hear what is it that you want to say. If it is actually of such public importance, I will not make the application. So they spoke, this one speaks. At the end of it all, I was clear in my mind that nothing new had happened. It was a relitigation of the matter that we had.
And you gave a ruling.
Yes.
You gave a ruling. Some have said that you should have put it up for voting instead of giving a ruling.
No, the others do not say that that application should be made to the House. That one is to be made to the Speaker. So it's for the Speaker to admit it. All right? As I said, he had discussed it with me before. Would have gone through what we went through in the chamber and come to a conclusion that I may not admit it. Right.
Right. Well, in the middle of an interview with Honourable Joseph Osei-Owusu, Member of Parliament for Bekwai constituency and First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, is talking to head of our legal and political desk here at Asase Radio about the parliamentary stalemate and the rules and regs around Parliament and the budget 2022 and the way forward. We're taking a quick break and then we'll be back for the conclusion of that interview.
Whether you're the most uptight girl or the slayest of all queens, got your nose up in the air, shy, or the I don't care kind of girl, our personalities may differ, but our wahala and our issues are similar. And we need to talk. We need a place and time for just us. Talking from girly to womanly stuff. Welcome to our safe haven, our zone, our spot. Just us, where we talk about everything from love and sex to business and wealth, fashion and cosmetics, cosmetic surgeries, and the boys. My name is Na Ashokor, and I invite you to join my girls and I every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. on Asase Radio. The voice of our land.
Black Boy on Nitro Avenue.
Turn on the night.
Baby, we are doing music, combos, and gossip. All the scoops, the lowdowns, and the meltdowns. Nitro Avenue. What's playing and showing, what's popping and trending, all the celebs and stars.
That's the golden time of day.
Accra, tune in. On air, Asase Radio 99.5. Online, that's Asase Radio. Web, tablets, and phones. Nitro Avenue with Black Boy is on weeknight. Black Boy's gonna turn on the nights in the capital again. Nitro Avenue. Music, convos, info, trends. Nitro Avenue is exclusive to Asase Radio 99.5, the voice of our land.
Cafe 995.
11 people chasing one ball.
Everyone is
11 people chasing one ball.
No, but wait.
Please.
Carol, wait. Every time Man United lose,
Give 11 people 11 balls. Let them throw it in. What are you talking about? That's how football is. Are you people? Make life.
Cafe 995.
Cafe 995 on Osei Radio. Weekdays from 10 to 12 midday.
Talk about. Anyway.
Wash your hands, sanitize, mask up, and keep your social distance. Abba, be safe, oh. So all of us go be safe from corona.
A public service announcement from Osei Radio.
Osei Radio.
Apologies to Nano to in the middle of his wash your hands, clean your fists, and all those things that he does on the public service announcements. I just jumped in there. Apologies for that. Very shortly we'll be going back to our interview, our major interview this morning with Joseph Osei-Owusu, Member of Parliament for Bekwai constituency. But before then, Nania just has to say something.
Yes, because I just have to tell you that I've become Babs. So I'm Babs from Enterprise, who's your new contact for insurance, pensions and funeral and property solutions from the Enterprise Group. So you can chat easily with me on the Enterprise Advantage app, the Enterprise website, or by WhatsApping this number 055 400 1924. I'm always available and always willing to help you find solutions to your big dreams. So come on now and dream big with us. Enterprise, your advantage.
Yeah, dream bigly. Bigly. Dream bigly. So Goal has good news for you. Goal is rewarding its prepaying go-kart customers with the 2 pesos discount. There's also a 3 pesos discount that you can get, also for, up to 3 pesos on per liter discount. And all you're trying to do really is become a Go card member. Free life insurance as well, amazing discounts, accrue and contribute loyalty points, also to help a worthy cause, to fund an approved CSR. CSR, what's that?
Corporate social responsibility.
Consumer responsibility, yeah.
No, social.
Okay, all right, corporate social project. Okay, corporate social responsibility to get DJ Rennie a face mask. Exclusive Goyle branded campaign gifts are available to you as well. You can join the Go Club by visiting Goyle stations or offices across the country. Goyle website, registration.goyle.com.gh, and Oil Goyle social media platforms. Individuals, corporates, family and social groups can join the Go Club now. Goyle, good energy. Yeah, idiom. We're going to go back to the advert, we're going to go back to our interview with Joseph Osei-Owusu and Wilberforce legal assistant, legal entrepreneur, legal big shot, head of our legal desk here at Osei, as they continue and conclude their discussions on, and get a bit of education also. Have you been educated on parliamentary procedure? I have. I didn't know it was just that. It was pretty intricate, but we were talking about in the booth there and saying that, look, there's obviously more to it than just what the media come and speculate on. The media should actually do a bit more reading. It would be very helpful. But it's also important that Parliament itself, and you know the point he made at the beginning is like, there's nobody in Parliament who does not understand the procedure. And when I thought that was interesting. So we get the rest of that interview. When we come back, we'll talk about it a bit, and then we can wrap up the program. All right, is that all right?
Yeah, that's
okay, great. So back to our wonderful interview this morning.
Because it didn't do that, and I didn't want it to appear that I've prevented them from speaking. I said, let me hear you. What is it that you want to say? So all the people who want to say in support of something of public importance that happened, I heard them, and I came to a conclusion that nothing new had happened.
Because the application was made to you as the speaker, then you had the power to rule on it and not to put it up for voting. All right. The other issue was the fact that there was some quote-unquote misbehavior on the floor of the House, to the extent that one member of Parliament, I believe for Ashaman, actually had occasion to go and pull the speaker's chair from where it is, and it took the marshals in the chamber to obtain the chair back and to put it at its place and to guard it. These actions that went on in Parliament, this is just one of them, there were several others. Do they constitute contempt of Parliament, and are these people to be hauled before the Privileges Committee, or what is the process?
First thing is that what happened in my presence, which I consider unparliamentary, was some members, whilst I was
giving your ruling,
speaking to the mic, shouting to the mic. I was actually going to ask that it will be marched up to under the 100, but the clerks at table advised me to let that matter lie, and so I let it lie. After the ruling, I suspended sitting. Right. All those things that I had happened behind me. I didn't see that myself, but it is open to me to make a comment on the matter, which has the may end up at the Privileges Committee, which by our rules I chair. So I strongly suspect that, strongly believe that if anybody misconducted himself, the rules of Parliament, the disciplinary procedure should apply. But that's all I can say. I can't point to A or B because I didn't see anything in person. And if it becomes necessary, I'll preside on the proceedings. So it is not fair for me to make a comment.
The application that was brought by the minority to you for purposes of changing or reversing the decision to approve has been ruled upon. Parliament is convening Tuesday, the 7th of December. You have about 10 days from the sitting of the 7th to complete all processes before you rise until you come back probably the next year. Where are we and what lies ahead?
Well, I'm aware that consequent upon what happened on Wednesday, the whips formed committees from both sides of the House. Some leaders, some non-leaders, so that they have been discussing one, the conduct of members on the day, and the points of disagreements. I'm told that they have practically reached very far, and they may come to some resolution by close of day today. If they're able to reach some resolution, that resolution will then inform the work of the House.
So this committee's work is just to deal with happenings on the floor of Parliament on
and
the first
points of disagreement.
Oh, okay. As far as the budget is concerned.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So, and then I heard everybody who has spoken has said the minority and the majority should talk. The minority and the majority should talk. That has been the talk so far, and I think Parliament, made up of the two sides, are living up to the expectation by encouraging the discussion of the sides.
So, okay, so that's understandable. But you are trying to say that you intend to build consensus going forward with the minority to ensure that you get the budget passed. Do you think you can do that within the time frame that you have as a parliament?
Largely, if there's no disagreements, all the discussion goes on at the committee level. At the committee level, whatever are the naughty points are discussed, and then when the report comes, because we have reached consensus at the committee level already, it is short and a matter of course. That's all.
So the Minister for Finance has just been talking about the fact that some 10 million Ghana cedis is being allotted to the Cater Sea Defense project, and then subsequently government is going to continue to engage the minority as far as the budget 2022 is concerned. Do you think this is inviting enough to the minority?
Well, the Cater was one of their demands. So should I say inviting? It is responding to their demands. At the Tuesday meeting, what came out was that whatever needs to be done, there's no way you can finish it in 1 year. The engineering studies you do, the design before implementation. So the money allocated is for you to start, do the engineering studies, design the solution before you get to the engineering, which will require the biggest chunk. And I think this 10 million should be sufficient for the study and the design in the course of next year, so that I'm sure by the close of next year they would have finished with the design. Then when you're coming to the actual fiscal work, that is when the big chunk of the money will be required.
Finally, on e-levy, the percentage presented by the minister before Parliament was 1.7. Being the talk that it should come to 1, like the minority leader has been saying. Some have said, let's do 1.5. Others say, for government projections, we need to maintain the 1.7. You have any thoughts on this?
Well, if I were government, I want all of the money that that's why I'll put it in the budget. But governance is about balancing. What it clearly means is that because you're going to have a shortfall, whatever you decide, if let's say use 1%, if you agree on 1%, it means that the revenue projected for the 0.75 will not come. Therefore, you must remove the expenditure from some places. So that balance must be. If you read 1.5, it means the revenue for 0.25 will not come, and therefore it must affect certain investments or projections elsewhere. Budget, for me, sometimes we make it appear too huge, but in the end is, I want to do A, B, C, D, E this year. To do all these, I need this amount of money. This is how I'll get the money. Individuals will pay this tax. Corporate will pay that tax. Road users will pay that, will do all that. If I get all the money, I will do that. This is the simplest form I can. So, where we are, and yesterday I saw a video which was like describing our financial situation by Jackson. Jackson is my contemporary at Legon. So I know that he has been in the finance market and the economy for a long time. He's been doing presentations all the time. And he said something that where we are between a hard rock and a hard place. Our choices are practically finished. Either you raise more money so that you can pay, so you make more room, even if you want to borrow more. If you don't raise enough money to pay off your interest, your debts, pay some off and make room, one, what you generate will not be sufficient to pay for your workers and your debts, and you cannot borrow more. The danger is that your economy will collapse. It is a choice Ghanaians have to make. Sometimes the politics of it make people lose the reality, the focus on the reality. The NDC ranking member on finance at the meeting said, listen, we have discussed all this at this point. I am leaving. The leaders will decide how you want, but I want to assure you, and let me warn all of us, if you do not resolve this matter today, we should not count on any economy.
And who is this? Who is this you are referring to? Specific name?
Osei-Owusu.
Okay.
He said it to all of us. This is about Ghana. We must resolve this matter and move on. Otherwise, we cannot count on something called economy. And I'm sure everyone who has looked at the numbers agree. Both sides of the political divide. We know these are the three. But our politics is about how can I get advantage irrespective of the dangers and the consequences. I'm not talking about any one side, all of us. And sometimes it's frustrating for people who mean well, people who see the danger and think that we must take steps to deal with them. I think that we have no choice now. Whatever we cut out, it must affect some expenditure. Yesterday I told some of my constituents, they were arguing about this report, and I said, listen, in the last 4 years, you have had a completely new hospital. I recall that the equipment alone for the hospital cost us $12 million. We borrowed. We have had about 30 kilometers of town roads, Bekwai town. We borrowed. 10 kilometers of asphalt road, we borrowed. There are 6 senior high schools. 4 of them, we built new dormitories, new classrooms, teachers' bungalows and things, laboratories and things. We borrowed. Either we pay back some part of that so we have more room to borrow, or we should forget about expanding facilities for the other schools. Meanwhile, the number of children who need secondary education are expanding. All the long talk about this, that, it comes to you have to pay for what you want. We should stop pretending that government has some money somewhere. People talk about cocoa. The cocoa money doesn't belong to government. Government make profits of cocoa farmers. You pay them gold. It is in our land. But it is not like water where you can just take it away. It costs money to bring it out, clean it, and make it money. If you don't have your own money to do it, other people will do it. You will get your share after they have taken their cost. Oil, the same thing. In the end, you put all those revenues together, it is not sufficient to meet all the things we want. So we borrow to do that. We must pay. We must pay for the borrowing. And Jackson said something. We are not taxing the rich enough in this country. Many, many people have property worth millions, billions, but their names are not on any tax record.
In recent time, we're told that most lawyers in the country are not paying taxes.
Well, I've been told that since I was a lawyer. Ever since I left law school 34 years ago. This is my senior, Katie. 32 years ago. Katie, yes, 33 years now. Lawyers don't pay their taxes. You see, our economy generally, and that's what happens when it comes to counting our wealth. We are so informal that people don't even have record of what they have. So it's difficult to determine your net worth in order to tell how much. That's why informal taxing system is the most effective. Because now that I work in the public sector, at the end of the month, they do all that and calculate, you get this price, I've taken that. When I was in the private sector, the farmer who is bringing money to me, when the cocoa season comes, he brings the money. If you see even where he has tied the money before he brings it, as soon as you take it, it's in your pocket, and you're spending it. At the end of the sometimes we don't even issue receipts. So, at the end of the year, it's difficult to calculate how much you earned in order to be able to. But if we're able to trace what I was worth, my first house I bought with a loan from HFC. When I was going for this, they said, bring your tax clearance certificate. That was when I went to sit in front of the IRS and say, okay, you have a private car. So this is your income you have declared. This is what you can't buy a private car. We have topped it up. You have how many wives? 1. You have children. Then they count all that and they use it to project an income. And they calculate it for you to pay. I was willing to pay. But frankly, if you ask me how much I earned over the years, I could probably look at by counting my expenditure. But if you ask to show me, your client will meet you at the court and give you money. You don't have any receipt book to give it to. So our systems, the same thing with all the traders. They can't tell the difference between their trading capital and their profit. And the tax is to be on their profit. We have passed a law here already saying that everybody must use the point of sale device. So far, it's not being implemented. Somebody told me that don't bring you together. I'm telling you. So we should understand our circumstances and therefore work around our circumstances to try to pay for the services we want. All this about public goods. People complain that we don't protect public funds. It may well be true. I can't deny that in many instances, even when I was in public service, I've seen so much that we take steps to recover the money. But the truth of the matter is, as long as our record keeping is this low, we will keep fighting that kind of situation for a while. But we cannot wait till we keep the records before. Probably we don't get 100% value for all expenditure, but I'm sure we get about 70 to 80% value of our expenditure. We should make sure that the things we want, we must provide the money for them to be made for us.
Okay, so Parliament is sitting today, Tuesday, and are you going to be presiding?
Why not? There are only two of us available now, myself and the second deputy speaker. If we go beyond 3 hours, I'll ask him to take over from me. Sometimes there are other businesses which require that I leave immediately. I'll ask him to take over from me. When I suspended sitting, I asked him to come and conclude. Friday, when after a meeting, we decided that we will not do any serious business, we'll do soft business. I asked him to go and preside. So
what should the people of Ghana expect from our Parliament this week?
Hopefully we would have resolved the differences, and the work on the budget will proceed with speed.
Do the people of Ghana have the assurance that by the 17th of December, when you are supposed to rise, they will have a budget that will be for purposes of the financial year 2022? I believe so.
I believe so. If the discussions that are ongoing proceed in the manner in which it has started, I'm sure we'll come to some conclusion one way or the other.
Did you think that the minority in Parliament need to be invited by the President for a particular session, maybe to explain things to them at that level?
The Finance Minister represents the President. So if the Finance Minister and his deputy, his Minister of Trade meet with them, it's the same thing. Already in this country, we are so suspicious of one another that my friends, there are so who were my friends from university, during these circumstances, they are afraid to come to my office.
You mean members of the minority?
Yes.
Who are your friends?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they fear that they will be accused of compromising.
By their party or by their caucus?
Well, already, I think I read something today that Honorable Ayine is saying that it is not fair to accuse those who are negotiating at the various committees as compromising. That is, unfortunately, how cynical we have become.
So, we've been talking with the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joseph Osei-Owusu, and also Member of Parliament for Bekwai constituency in the Ashanti region.
But I'm Member of Parliament first, before...
Yes, so he's Member of Parliament for Bekwai first, before he is the first Deputy Speaker of Parliament. It's extremely important to him, I can understand. And he's been sharing his thoughts about happenings in Parliament from the 17th of November, when the Finance Minister presented President Akufo-Addo's budget statement and economic policy for the year 2022. He's also told us about things that have unfolded beyond the presentation of the budget, and also what he anticipates is ahead of Parliament before the appropriation bill is passed, hopefully on the 17th of December 2021. Thank you very much, Honorable, for accepting to speak with us and for sharing your time with us.
My pleasure.
All right, great. So thanks very much to Wilberforce Asari, Head of Legal and Political Desk here at Asasi Radio. And, of course, thanks to the Honourable Member of Parliament. And, listen, for nothing at all, you've been educated. And there's a lot in there that a lot of us needed to know. Certainly, it speaks to sometimes we need to have an understanding of some of the stuff that's going on. You don't have to take umbrage at positions taken by any member of Parliament. But certainly you need to know what's going on in Parliament or understand how Parliament is working. Shabo Shabo says, Asasi Radio must take care of Kojuman Sapa because he's the reason... Oh, no, forget that. Anyway, so moving on, Sasha Lace, Shabo Shabo, Kobe Jones, you've all made some comments this morning. Shabo's made several comments about about the discussions. A few other people as well. Amma Bernice, right? And we want to thank all of you for your comments and your thoughts. Kwanta Masahudu, everybody else, thanks for your comments. Omar Omaga Namani, writing in from his normal hotspot in Enugu State in Nigeria. Thanks to all of you for your comments. So long as we can just keep them sort of polite at all times, we're just really, really grateful. And Mutawakil Abubakar says he enjoyed the interview. Shabo is telling me to stop right there. Show me the knowledge in that interview in this knowledge world. Okay, you see, the very fact that there was an argument about when the person is not a speaker and when he's a deputy speaker and when he's allowed to vote and when he's not allowed to vote, and the fact that that was not clear, even allegedly, apparently, to members of Parliament, would indicative, Shabo, of the fact that there was a lack of knowledge that perhaps has been made clear by the interview. I don't want to argue with you about it, but it just, I mean, maybe not. I could be wrong. Who am I? Minimshe. Lady Will says, that was a fantastic interview. Good morning, Uncle Joe. So it's different strokes, different folks. You know how it is. Asasi Radio, 99.5. The time is now some 12 minutes to the top of the hour. DJ Rennie wants to play some music. Interesting that the other thing that he would mention at the tail end of the interview is that because of the cynicism that he spoke to, people are afraid to approach him in certain circumstances and situations. That's probably not a good thing. But it also speaks to the polarization of our country, and it's something that has concerned a lot of people, and it's also in Parliament as well, where parliamentarians can't even talk to each other for fear of being labelled one or the other. That's a disappointment, but parliamentarians should perhaps get over themselves and know that they have far more encompassing issues that they have to focus on. Nanea Koben Yenin. I hope you got my VN. I'm going to check it out with Nanea, and then I'll get back to you. All right. Music before we wrap up the program for today. Just yeah, I'm out quite. DJ Rennie. We're wrapping up the program for today. Just some quick reminders on certain things. CBG, I've still got some messages that it needs to get out of the way. And as you know, if you're at SME or you're trying to get some information, that's probably the place to go. Consolidated Bank Ghana has developed a business solution for all your pre-export and post-export shipment solutions to meet all your export finance needs. So, you get quick sign-up, quick access to financial assistance, access to finance discounts, export receivables, no tangible collateral required, competitive interest rates, access to export advisory services, and competitive exchange rates to exchange export inflows to CDs. For more information, walk into any branch of CBG near you, or you can contact CBG on 0302 216 000. That's 0302 216 000. Email info@cbg.com.gh, website www.cbg.com.gh, or get on one of the social media platforms. It's all about social media these days, isn't it? It's about digitalization and all that stuff. Terms and conditions do apply. CBG, we stand with you.
Did you say financial assistance?
Yeah.
Some of that. Financial assistance. Okay, so you can get some financial assistance from DSTV, which is offering you scheduled payments.
Did you hear what Shabu Shabu says? That song is Joe White's favorite song. Did you know that?
What
I don't know. That's what Shabu is saying.
I think there may be some defamatory claims afoot. But yeah, you're not necessarily going to get Malago on DSTV, but you will get the financial assistance. So get a 5% discount on your DSTV for 2 months when you schedule your DSTV payment monthly on ExpressPay. Stay connected to your DSTV with ExpressPay's schedule payment feature now. All you've got to do is log in and tap pay, then you select TV, and then you hit DSTV and enter your account details and choose a payment option to schedule now. So download ExpressPay today on the Google Play Store or the App Store if you don't already have it. Schedule now, and that gives you the full DSTV experience at a cool 5% discount starting at the beginning of this month, the 1st of December, and I don't think it's going to go on forever, so rush. Terms and conditions apply, though.
Okay, great. Thanks very much. Apparently there's a bench warrant for an NDC MP. I'm just thinking to myself, if I'm going to go around with bench warrant, do people get... Are people afraid when they hear that there's a bench warrant out for their arrest? Or they just sort of say,
another one of those.
Police people again, who are they? Sort of thing. I don't know. Anyway, this is the case, the Jomoro case.
Dorcas Afoto.
Yeah, about the whole issue of dual nationality. That question is coming up in Parliament, apparently. The question of and whether or not they should just do away with that whole rule.
Right.
It wouldn't help her, but the rule in itself about what constitutes and what informs a dual citizen. It's my thing has always been, I just want you to comment briefly before we go. In America, you go to America, here you are from Ghana, you're basically a stowaway. You get there, you manage to rationalize your documentation a bit by plucking peaches in Florida somewhere or something. And then they say you can join the armed forces of the Republic of the United States and fight for America. Now,
die for America.
Yeah, and see, why if does Ghana offer the same principle, and if I then came and fought for Ghana, are you going to turn around and tell me 8 years later, but you're not a citizen? When I was prepared to die for you, what were you thinking?
Cannon fodder is cannon fodder, and if you're unintelligent enough to say, okay, I'm going to put my that's I'm being flippant here. Of course, it's nothing about whether you're intelligent or not. But if you think that that's a legitimate bargain from where you're standing, that you put your life on the line. As, if you like, your card that you're putting down, hoping that means that you will will get affirmation from the country that you're offering to fight. Then that's your choice. There are a lot of people who enter, particularly the U.S. Army, because it not only offers the chance of, if you like, regularizing their situation, but also offers them a career. They're lawyers, doctors, scientists, all sorts of people who join the army.
Get an education from being there in the army.
It's a whole structure. So there are fringe benefits, if you want to put it that way, but there are also people who just join to be a squaddy, to be one of the troops. But it is their way of, if you like, acquiring that foothold in the United States that says you are a true citizen, and they may die in the course of duty. We don't take the business of nationality and what kinds of work actually show that you're really committed to the country that you say you belong to quite seriously enough. If you're a doctor or you're a nurse, and you're a dual national, what is it about? If you're a doctor, it's about saving life wherever you are.
You know what I mean? And then I'm qualified to save lives here, but I'm not qualified then to become a member of parliament because, oh, by the way, I didn't rationalize my documentation. But I've been saving Ghanaians for the last 15 years, just because coincidentally my wife is a Ghanaian and I decided to come and settle in Ghana. Do you know what I mean? Things like, there's something that they need to at least address. I'm not to say that the lady with the bench warrant, I support her or not to support her, but something that needs to be thought about.
It certainly needs some thinking about. Then again, if you were to ask a lot of Ghanaians, would you mind if you had a president who is a dual national? The gut instinct of most people is, how could you possibly do that? The person has to be Ghanaian and nothing else.
So you're Ghanaian.
And it's sort of completely ignoring a history that we've had of having, say, warlords or traditional rulers who were people of at least more than one place, even if you don't say, they're a total foreigner or whatever. I mean, talk about my relations in Ile-Ife, who I must go and see one day.
I don't want to talk about your relations in Ile-Ife. We've run out of time. For goodness sake, that could be a whole nother conversation. My goodness.
I'll have to get some of that smoked fish that Pierre was talking about earlier and go and visit my relatives.
Anyway, before we wrap up, as you know, and I wanted you to talk about this for a minute, and I'm giving exactly a minute.
Oh, dear.
Back in the day, and this is from then, Kwame Nkrumah was accused of not being a Ghanaian.
Yeah.
So we started this idea about people not being Ghanaians a long time ago.
Yeah.
Comment.
I just think that it's ignoring the facts of our own history and the facts of our own culture to bandy around a kind of legalistic false notion of there being one kind of Ghanaianness which fits perfectly into a box.
Right. Okay.
Any country, at least that is a successful country, I mean, people will point to the Japanese and say they're a very, very particular culture and they're shut off from the rest of the world. Even the Japanese are thinking about controlled immigration now.
Just answer a question in 1 minute. Maybe a question about it in a baby.
Even the Japanese are thinking of controlled immigration. Every country that wants to progress benefits from outside influences and other people coming to live within it
and being
becoming a recognized part of that society.
Okay.
One of the things I love about walking into Osu Cemetery.
Go away there. I don't know what is that.
One of the things I love about entering Osu Cemetery is that as you enter that main aisleway, you will see all the Ghanaian names. You will also see an Orthodox Jewish family mausoleum.
Okay, thank you for that final comment.
They are part of Ghana too.
Thank you for that wonderful comment. If you do for Guan for and when you so if you baby no obey. Now about sense. And cran for now if you baby no obey.
Ile-Ife.
The early originals appear to be the people from Techiman. who claim to have come out of a stone.
There's some Musi people who came
all
out
right.
of...
On that note, we're just going to leave it with that argument, that racist ethnic argument, and say thanks to the team as always for a brilliant production as always. Thanks to everybody in the MCR. Who are they?
They are, our producer, Emmanuel Ohiming, ably assisted by Captain Malco Donko. I believe we've also had...
MP in waiting, Xiao.
Yes, the MP in waiting. What kind of political suit was he wearing today? I haven't seen it yet.
It's a casual wear, so not Osei-Owusu wear. Today.
I see. Really? Yeah. There's a special MP cash look.
I'm telling you, it's a first deputy speaker look.
Have you noticed how painted that shirt is?
No, I haven't. It's time to go. Nanaya. Who?
And Joseph and Philip Alite and other people who may not even have been in the control room today. Ola Juna, the whole works. Yes, thank you very much for helping us put the show on the road again today.
DJ Letitia's son, as
DJ
always.
DJ Titus.
And Wilberforce and the Reverend Minister, the force be with you.
Star of Kikus.
Coming up next is the Peach Queen. To do us the news at the top of the hour, 10 o'clock. That's with Karen Dodo Ainshi.
Yeah.
Say bye-bye.
It's bye-bye from me. Have a great day.
And bye-bye from me.